Hey everyone, welcome to the Palikari Business Podcast. My name is Abby.
And I'm Nick.
And we're the founders of Odyssey Productions Co., a video production company located in the Central Valley of California.
Yeah, the word Palikari is a Greek word that means a young person who's achieved great things beyond their years.
So in each episode of this podcast, we will be interviewing successful business owners, influencers, and entrepreneurs to learn from their wisdom, experiences, and even their mistakes in hopes of helping you achieve great things beyond your years.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We're here today with Debbie Huber, who we are just super honored to have on the podcast. She has just an infinite well of knowledge. So we're happy for her to share some of her wisdom with us. So yeah, we're just going to get straight into it. I was just wondering if you could give us a little bit of an intro of how you got started in your business and where you are now and how you got interested in it. And
yeah. So working in the insurance field was not actually what I thought was going to be what I was going to do in my life. I really didn't know at the time. I was going to college at the local JC, and the man that my mom worked for had asked her if I might have an interest in working in his insurance agency, and so I took his offer and ended up going to work there in, I believe it was 1988, and it was for a whopping $700 a month. So just thinking back to that and how money has obviously changed, but how this journey has changed, financially significantly, but that was just what started to be just going in an 8-to-5 job actually turned out to be the greatest thing I had ever done in my life.
Awesome. That's cool. Okay, so you work a lot with people. How would you say that you have been able to develop good relationships and keep people in good relationship? What's the...
Yeah, with your clients.
Yeah, with your clients. And
the hardest part of what we do is retention. Naturally, about 15% of our book of business each year naturally just it leaves. And so you have to be able to do things, not just to balance it by bringing people into the business, new clients to replace those that do leave, but you have to make sure you keep those that you have. And so it comes by, being relational in the sense of, there are hundreds of thousands of insurance agents in the entire world, and yet there are, hundreds and hundreds in the city in which I live in. And so I separate myself by bringing insurance buying strategies that teach people how to purchase insurance and teach them strategies that not the next farmer's agent could do. Not just having you pay your insurance, but teaching you your insurance to pay you. Not just taking you, not just insurance indemnifies you. It brings you back to where you were at the time of a loss. But I try to teach people not just to bring you back where you are at the time of a loss, but taking you where you need to be. And the average insurance agent doesn't really even know what those terms mean. I mean, when we talk to somebody about insurance and you mention, what kind of insurance do you have, they automatically say, oh, well, I have a $500 deductible. When that's not at all what I'm trying to ask. I mean, I'm trying to be a risk manager and an insurance steward of their money. And by doing that, teaching them investing, not just, in their mind paying premiums and having a certain deductible. It's about making sure that they're maximizing their protection, but also teaching them the investment that is necessary and able to help get them to where they need to be.
Cool.
Yeah, so
I like that.
You're educating your clients
Correct.
and showing them that I actually care about your well-being, not just how much money I can get out of you, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
That's cool. Giving outside of just what you're like, oh, you're going to get insurance, but also pouring into them saying teaching them.
Correct. Yeah.
That's cool.
It
That's
is
cool.
teaching them. And I want to be their source for insurance. So I want them to think if they leave Debbie, then they're not going to have what they had before. I want to make them think, if they ever think about leaving me, that I want to caption those that I have and make sure that they know that they're getting something of value, and that, I have 8 employees that are there. So if I'm not there to help them, I have 8 licensed staff people that are there to help, that have the same vision as I have, because I've done, hopefully, I think, a good job at casting that vision, to make sure that they have my philosophy in that.
Cool. So How would you say that you create a healthy team culture in your staff, and how do you go about building a good team?
So that is actually the hardest thing of what I do is not marketing insurance, selling insurance, and retaining clients. It's getting the proper staff. And so it's taking care of them. And it's making sure, if I'm not able to cast my vision and they don't understand it, then it creates double vision, and we all know that isn't good. So it's number one, making sure that when you're hiring people, you hire people that have your vision and that have your back and that will take care of your customers the way you do. It is an interesting balance, I will say. And most of my staff, I've had one person 17 years, one person 16 years, one person 13 years. A lot of people have been with me a long time, and it's because it's the one thing that I've always said, I don't want to just have employees, I want to hire family. And it's good in the sense of it does create this environment, but then, when the closer you are with people, the more sometimes there's some ought and such, but it is treating them right, it's paying them right, it's rewarding them right. And one thing that I've learned in the last few years, I've been in business for myself over 26, in the industry over 30, but I've learned that every person is incentivized differently. One person might be money, one person might be time off, one person might be affirmation. Everybody's different. Yeah. And so it's just learning that as an employer and being a good example for them, and making sure that I am, taking care of those that take care of my clients.
That's really good. And it's like you're very personal with, like, you learn about your employees so that you can learn, okay, how can I best?
Correct.
Yeah. That's really good.
Where I used to always have a blanket reward. We're all going to go to Mexico for a week, or we're all going to go here, when some of them are like, I really don't want to go to Mexico with you for a week. I want to take my family and go somewhere else. So I'm just learning that I don't have to do the same thing for everybody.
That's really good.
That's good. I like that a lot. So you also touched on, you said that the hardest part is not bringing in clients and marketing and stuff.
Oh, that's hard. It's just not the hardest part.
Not the hardest part. Not the hardest part.
That's really hard.
But, so we want to know a little bit about how you do bring new clients in.
Something that I learned, and so I will tell you, bringing clients in has never been a hard thing for me. And I'm a Christian, and not that means anything other than I'm a faithful one that has learned that everything I have is because God's given it to me. And the one thing I've been faithful in my entire life is tithing. And because of that, my financial situation is connected to God. And because of that, that's how my business is multiplied. I don't say that obviously there's many people that aren't Christians that are more successful than me, but for me, that has been my go-to. And so, it's funny, it's even my old district manager could not even understand my numbers. How are you bringing these people in? How are they coming in? And to be honest with you, I didn't know. At the time, I went to a very small church. I was with another insurance company before, and I loved the man I worked for, and I promised him I would never take a client, and I never did. And God just kept bringing people. But I learned that it was like all my district manager would tell me. He would say, you need to ask for referrals. This is before I even started. You need to ask for referrals. And then I learned that instead of asking for referrals, which every agent should do, and I should have done, I just didn't have to, I learned the art of being referable. That if I am referable, then I don't even have to ask. They will just show up. And that is pretty much what happened. It would be, I write one family, I write their insurance, I teach them these insurance buying strategies that they've never heard before, or there's just something different in my presentation, or something that they feel that they gained from me, and they go and they say, oh, I met with Debbie last night, and she saved us $300, and then actually we're taking that $300 of savings and we're investing it, and then in 30 years we're going to have this return. And so it was something that I had a value to be referable, instead of having to go around and saying, Abby, can you give me 3 of your closest friends? I'd like to give them a call, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have my staff do that, so there's nothing wrong with it, but I really, my way of building my business was being referable instead of asking for the referrals.
That's really good.
That's cool. How would you say that, what's the best way to be referable? Like, if you could give one, tip on how to...
Well, I think it does. I think it goes back to what I've kind of said several times. It's offering something different. I mean, you can call, five insurance companies. You could spend the next hour calling and getting quotes from 5 people, and you're going to get a different experience each call you make. You're going to get a different rate, and you're going to get a different just experience, interaction. And so it's, you get the return clients and you get the sale by offering something different. It might just be a personality. I mean, I've had people that have come to me and my premium's been more just because they like the way that I explained, what we do or how we do it. And that has been just something that it worked for me from day one. And these are principles that I learned from the agent that I worked for. I mean, the agent that I worked for 30 years ago was one of the number 1 agents in the entire country with another carrier. And so I learned a lot of his principles and then took them and made them my own. And so, kind of full circle. And then he had me train his staff like 5 years ago after he, poured into me 30 years ago. So nothing's really changed in how I've done business. And, I attribute my success to number 1, God, number 2, just keeping things the same and always putting the client first and always making sure that their best interest, I'm selling to their best interest, not to my financial gain, not to my number that I get to say I achieved. It's to what is best for them. And I've done that out of, it's the right thing to do, but also my fear of God of just knowing I have to do the right thing regardless of what it does to my bank account. But yet doing the right thing has worked out.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I love that. So going back to your team, is there ever any conflict within your team, and how do you go about resolving that conflict and keeping things steady?
So, I mean, it's hard. It's hard because they're all different personalities and they're all going through their own, their own successes, their own failures. I mean, I've had employees that have gone through divorces. I've had them gone through marriages. I've had some that have lost children. I've had some that have lost husbands. I mean, there's death, there's life, there's just experiences. And so coupling all that with trying to have them take care of my clients is something that, no one thinks about. We're just trying to find people to help meet the needs of our clients, but not realizing that they are having needs of their own outside of this, which comes into it. And so as a new employer, I certainly didn't know that. So it's just trying to find people. I mean, we're all going to go through life, but it's trying to find people that have good attitudes about life. One of my closest friends and one of my longest tenured employee, I don't know anybody in my life that has gone through what she's gone through, medically, and just different things in life, and yet she's gone through with such grace. And my clients never knew 1 minute what she was going through. Now, did she ever forget something? Did she ever have a day where she hung up the phone and then cried? Many days. And so, but yet my clients never knew. And so it's trying to find just that right person that has the ability to, take care of your clients like they're their own family, like she would her own child during some tragedy. And that's finding those people. And I will tell you, it's hard. I mean, if I could find 20 of those people, I'd be on some private island having a good time myself right now. Probably wouldn't be doing your podcast. But that's it. I mean, that's the hard thing about staff is they are everything. They will make you or they will break you. And thankfully I've been able to be blessed once again of finding the ones that have really helped. And it's not my success. I've actually changed everything at Farmers. Everything used to be under my name, and when I get awards and I order awards or awards come, we actually had an award shattering party. That's another story, but awards don't really mean anything anymore. But the point being is when they come, and they do come, I make sure they come in the agency name and not Debbie's name, because I am nothing without them. So they are everything.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's you can pass if you don't want to, but
I get to pass.
Can you share any like mistakes you've made and how you've been able to overcome and learn from them? Like any?
Yeah. So my biggest mistake is a pet peeve of mine. I'll backtrack a little bit. A pet peeve of mine is having someone who is, as a person, you're different at church as you are different at home as you are different at work.
Yeah.
And so it is more the fact of, if someone sees me in the church pew and this is how I am, then when they see me privately at a private event and I know nobody's around, they're going to still see the same Debbie. You know, that is something that is very important to me. And because of that, because I know a lot of people that I know that I've sat next to in the pew are not the same people in business. And that just bothers me. It grieves me. And so, but because of that and me wanting to make sure that I'm the same person in the pew as I am as a mother, as I am in the office, it's had me manage my business with my heart instead of my head. Oh, I can't fire you because I'm afraid if I fire you, you're going to think I'm a horrible person. And then it actually became a joke. And then my office manager, who's been with me a long time, she didn't have the same problem. And it wasn't because she didn't have a heart. It was just, this is business, right? I go, I know it's business, but so that it was, okay, I'm going to make you the manager and you're going to do any firing. I'll also let you do the hiring. I'm not going to hire them and then you have to fire them. And so it would become a joke in the office in the sense of she would hire. And then if that person didn't walk out, if Debbie went and grabbed her purse and went out the back door, that probably means if Nancy calls you in, you better bring your purse into her office because Debbie went to wash her car, you're probably going to be let go, because I could not be there. And so it was actually one of the last times that my office manager, Nancy, had fired someone, and I had grabbed my purse and I walked out the back, and the girl, before I could get my purse and get out, I went back there to thank me. Thank me for the opportunity, but I couldn't sneak out fast enough. And then I just started thinking, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm the business owner, even though I have someone to do it. Like, I can't run this place with my heart and not my head. So my biggest mistake ever was, for years, I ran it out of fear that I would look like a cunning business person instead of just a business person trying to make business decisions. It is a business, and I have an obligation to my employees to make sure that I'm running it as a business. I have an obligation to my customers. I have an obligation to everyone. And so I had to learn just the mistake of wasting years with employees that shouldn't have been with me for a long time, that I had their mistakes land on the other employees and all of that. So my biggest lesson by far has been just learning to manage with my head and the right way instead of with my heart out of fear.
Yeah. I think that's something we've struggled with before too, because you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to seem like, well, I'm a Christian, I'm a good person, all this stuff, but then I'm going to be mean when I'm in business.
Right.
It's not what you want at all, but
No.
there are like practical decisions that have to be made, and it's not that I don't like you or anything like that. It's that this is a business, this is my livelihood, this is how it has to go.
Absolutely, right. And you do more damage by not acting professionally and in a business manner than you do by saving someone from hurting their feelings.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Hey guys, if you found this podcast to be helpful to you, we would love to invite you to join our community Discord server. In the server, you'll be able to discuss the things you've been learning with other entrepreneurs, ask questions, build connections with like-minded people, and you'll have direct access to Nick and I.
Yeah, and the best part is it's totally free. We would love to connect with you. So if you're interested in joining our awesome community, head over to our Instagram page at Odyssey Productions Co. and click that link in our bio.
We can't wait to talk with you.
So just to be more on like the practical side, just to give people an idea of what you do, what does your day-to-day workflow look like? And what advice can you give about building good habits and routines?
Sure. So I will tell you, I mean, the first thing you have to do, and this is how I started my business. How I started my business is not what my business looks like today, and I'll touch on that too. But in the beginning, when you're starting your business and you start to hire people, and that was one of the things that I wish I would have done sooner. Was I was selling insurance and doing a great job at it, but I wasn't running a business. So how many people can Debbie get in front of? How many people can Debbie get in front of in a week? And that's going to equate to this amount of building my client versus running it like a business. And, if you buy a McDonald's franchise, you don't make money for 5 years. It costs a lot of money. And instead of this was me trying to do it without an expense, right? Had I had known what I know now, I would have went in debt to do this, just like anybody would go in debt for college or the things you would normally go in debt for. It makes sense to go in debt for a franchise, but not for an insurance agency. But I should have, because I could have grown it even bigger than what it was today. So it's, just investing in your business, to get the return. I think leading by example is one of the most important things. In other words, when you start, you have to make sure that, once again, it's your vision, you're casting it, but I can't expect my people to be on time. Even though I'm the owner and I'm paying, I can't expect them to show up if we're supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, for me to show up at 8:45 and expect them to be there on time. Even though one could say, well, I'm paying them, yes, they should. And the answer is yes, they should. But I think a lot of times as a new business owner, your employees are probably maybe new to the work world and don't really understand. And so, you lead by example. And, when I was an employee, something that my parents taught me, you're the first one there and you're the last one to leave. Mm-hmm. And even when I would rush to get my kids to school and drop them off early when I didn't have to, but I just knew it was something I needed to do to be able to make sure that I was the one unlocking the door at the office and setting the pace. And I did that. It's my 26th year with Farmers, and I did that in the beginning and built it from, the average agent at Farmers has 1,200 policies. That if you said, okay, after 25 years being in the business, what does an average Farmers agent has? An average Farmers agent has, 1,200 policies. I mean, we have close to 11,500 now. So, and that's all those little principles that I told you, which is nothing. There's nothing that sets me apart really, other than just doing that and doing that over and over again. But since COVID, my world has completely changed. So March 2020, we shut down. We went to shelter in place, right, with the world for 2 weeks, and then ended up not reopening our office back. All my girls went home. Some of them couldn't come back to work because I had one girl that had, 3 children at home, mm-hmm. that she was distance learning 3 different curriculums, 3 different grades, another one that had 2 kids at home. So, I lost 3 of my staff day one, and then we operated from home from March through June. And then when we came back in June, I learned some things about myself and some of my employees about, okay, I've gotten more production out of employee X because she's at home. She's not here walking around chatting with people around, right? Then I found something out about myself, that I'm actually not getting involved in the mundane things that take me away from what I should be working. And that is one thing that someone taught me very early. You need to learn to work on the business instead of in the business. Dealing with people that are complaining because their bill went up 37 cents. I'm always going to have those, and I have to make sure they get taken care of. But it doesn't necessarily have to be me. And also, it's like when you make an appointment with a doctor, nobody's ever offended if you call to make an appointment and the doctor himself doesn't pick up the phone and book you in his calendar, right? Everybody says it's a doctor, right? The same respect should be for any of us that are business owners and trying to take care of our clients. And so I learned during COVID that I don't have to be in the office every single day. And actually, I am probably home in yoga pants 90% of the time. I'm doing my phones virtually. I'm at my appointments virtually. I'm talking to clients more. I'm engaging more. I'm working more on the business than in the business. And I had the best year that I ever had last year in a pair of yoga pants. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, one other question that kind of just popped into my head. It's not on the notes, so if you need to take some time to think about it, it's fine. But how do you not plateau? Like, how do you keep growing even after you've seen some growth? How do you keep it going?
So that's a great question. I think it's one of the things where that is the beauty of our business in the insurance world, is there is no limit to what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I think it's more of the limit of what how big I want to. So I think for any insurance, I mean, there's a lot of change going on, and there's a lot of change going on in my particular insurance company, all insurance companies. There's a lot of change going on right now, and so it really has me thinking: is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? And the answer is probably because of the money, and it's all I know. But I think I would never have to plateau. It's mindset, right? I mean, it's a mindset, and you don't plateau because you have to stay relevant. I think we always need to be learning, listening to different podcasts, reading different books, having different mentors. But I feel that whatever business practices you have, that if you have that gift of entrepreneurship, which I do know I have, I don't care what I was doing if I applied it to selling Kirby vacuums or Cutco cutlery or Chevy trucks or computer systems, it's going to be the same. And so, I mean, right now I'm just trying to figure out, instead of plateau is just not a word. I mean, many agents get there, and it's usually at 1,200 policies, right? You get there and you're just tired. There's all this work that comes with this. And then, but I've learned how to get past that. I did hit plateaus, but learned how to get past that. And then I kind of realized it's just investing more, bringing on more people, you get past that. But now for me, it's what do I want to take and do in something that I actually enjoy doing? I mean, I love things that have to do with hospitality. I love cooking. I love creating fun spaces for people to dine in. And I don't own a restaurant, but maybe one day I will. I mean, there's just all these things I want to do. But I think that now I have learned, and I'll be 54 on my next birthday. And it's like I could take that and put that towards anything and know it would be successful, just because I've learned the basic foundation to running a successful business. And it all comes to very simple things. I think everybody's kind of looking, how did you do what you did? But it's like I said, it's God math, and I can't explain that. But it's also, doing the right thing, treating people the right way, your clients and your employees. And with that, you shouldn't hit a plateau.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's good. For new entrepreneurs who are just trying to get started, what would you, what kind of advice would you give them? Just like, I know it's a really broad question, but what would you give them to?
I mean, I think the main thing would be, find out who you are and what you're wanting to do, and surround yourself with people that are already successful. A little example of that is when I first became an agent, I'm a very competitive person. Money does not motivate me, and competition motivates me, and it did. And I mentioned earlier about shattering some trophies, and I did. I had like 200 of them, and I literally had a trophy shattering ceremony. It was really fun, actually, because I don't really care about being the best, but competition is what previously always fueled me. And when I used to go to the district meetings, I would look and I would see who was at the top, and I was way down at the bottom. I just started. I was 24 years old. I was a baby. And then I was like, okay, who's number one? Oh, that's this guy here. Okay, that's this guy. And then all I could think about was just taking them down one at a time. And I don't mean taking them down, putting them out of business, but like, okay, what are the numbers? What do I have to do? And then it was like, oh, okay. And then it was, I hit a plateau, right? Then I started making these national award promotions, and I got to go places. I mean, we got to go to London, to Paris, to Bahamas. I started going to these places, and I was around different people that were significantly more successful than my district, and significantly more successful from me. And then I became a part of just to being around them and gathering. I mean, I would sit down and have a cup of coffee. I would sit down and have whatever I could to get around these people, so I could find out the keys to the kingdom. What are they doing different? And it was when I started forging those relationships with the best and the best in the business that with all my employees kind of took me to the next level. So I would say with any entrepreneur, I mean, that's one crazy thing about you go online now, and I can literally, you go through reels of people and showing how successful they are in 2 minutes on buying real estate or an Airbnbs, or how they make the most amazing taco. I mean, it's all right there for you. I mean, if I would have had this 30 years ago and had, a millionaire mentors that I could look at to see how to get there, people today can get there significantly more efficient and quicker than I ever did. But it would be to surround yourself with people who you want to emulate and get around as many as you can.
Okay.
And not, probably don't stay local. There's probably not a lot of people around you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to go hang out with Joe Rogan, right? I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? Don't waste your time. I mean, like, that's what you should do, is find a way to get around the people that are the best and the best.
Okay.
So that would be.
Yeah. That's actually some advice that we've heard a lot of times, is get around people that you look up to and that
Right.
are successful that you could grow from? Because if you're not
Right.
growing, you're
And most people that are successful are willing to share. I mean, that's one thing with farmers. I mean, I spent, pre-COVID, in 1 year, I was on an airplane 35 times speaking to new agents. And so it cost me money. I mean, I even had corporate people tell me, you need to stop. Like, you need to not do this anymore because it's going to have an effect on you, on your relationships. It's going to have an effect on you as a mother. It's going to have an effect on you. Like, you need to stop doing this just for the goodness, because I wasn't getting paid for it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I trusted God, knowing I was helping others and that he would help sustain me, and he did. But most successful people don't care where you are on the pole of, oh, I'm only going to talk to this person because he's kind of successful. But no, most, if you want to get, people like to talk about themselves. So
Yeah.
if you go find someone that
Yeah.
is doing what you're doing, you want to be like them, I mean, we'll talk to you all day long. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to another question too, where you're talking about how easy it is even just to find information online and how much easier it is for people to be successful. But there's a lack of people actually doing that or capitalizing on that information because I feel like they think that they can't do it or they can't be successful. Would you say that's like a mindset thing?
Well, I definitely think it's a mindset thing. I think it's also, everybody thinks there's so much competition out there now, and I think it's how people look, right? I think that's one of the best things about social media is the audience that you have access to instantly, but then it's also the way social media and people try to portray how perfect everything looks. My business is amazing, right? And I'm size 2 and I'm really 55, but I look like I'm 20. I mean, it's all these things that people think I can never measure up to that because, instead of people being real. And then there's other people on there that are probably too real for social media, right? There's those people. But I think that, it's, you have not because you ask not, and no risk, no reward. It's one of those things where things are going to be uncomfortable no matter what, and unless you have walked into a ridiculous amount of money and money's not an issue, there's going to be some risk that you're going to have to take. But I mean, the one thing that I will say is different from my generation to the generation of today is work ethic. And obviously you guys are out hustling, so you don't fall into that. But I can tell you 80% of the kids that I know that, are coming into this, they do not have the work ethic I had. I mean, I started out, and this is, I started out at 13 years old. My parents had a ranch, and my dad was like, you're not going to play with Barbies, you're going to work, I'm going to pay you. So he paid me because, and if you don't want to work here, you'll have to get a job somewhere because I'm not going to have you just sitting around idle. And that's how my dad was raised. And my dad was a very successful farmer. And I was like, I am not working here. Like, this is not going to happen. And I lied. This was before I met Jesus. I lied. And I said that I was 15 and a half. Because you didn't have to have a work permit back then, and I went to work at McDonald's, and I lied, and just so I could have a job there, so I didn't have to work. Yeah. And so, but I worked. I mean, I worked, and then it got to where I kind of had to keep up with the lie for a while, and then here I am, going to school full time, and came up with this. I should have been 18, but I really wasn't. I was 16 and going to school, and I'm like, I need to work nights. Well, why? I just do. I just prefer nights. Really? And I'm like, so it's one of those things where, you can't lie, and thankfully I don't anymore. But it's the work ethic that I had that. Nobody really understands today, and that was something that I'm thankful for my parents and instilling that in me, and that has ring true to everything I've done today was that I was taught. And so it is something that is kind of lacking today is, it's all virtual, right? We don't have to do a lot. We can do our, I might be at home in yoga pants, but I'm not laying in bed, and people were, I was just reading the other day where they were talking about how a lot of people are losing the back of their hair because they're doing all this work from home and they're not getting out of bed and they're, so I'm not quite that worker, but I'm not afraid to work. I'm learning to work smarter instead of harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good.
Do you have any advice on getting to the people that are more successful and to creating those relationships, how you can keep growing?
Well, I think that's one of the great things about the social media world. Again, I don't know. So I follow different people, and they're not professional people. They're more reality people that I probably shouldn't admit to following. But it is interesting, you follow these people, and it's weird because you have access. I mean, you have access into, any reality star, any star, period, right? They might have 5 million followers, But when you maybe comment on a thread because something that they posted rang true to you, I've had some of them that are actually legitimately the people running their own page, and they've commented back to me, and you're like, oh my God, she talked to me. Oh my God. And it's like, why do I care that she talked to me? She's anyways, but it's the access you have to them. And so, obviously probably if you're going to want to inbox Kim Kardashian, I'm going to say you're going to fall amongst, another million people a day. But I think for people that are more in the business mindset, you can DM people. You can direct message people, and they can, and once again, I think that, it'd be like if I want to be something in the hospitality world, I probably wouldn't direct message Martha Stewart tomorrow, right? I'd probably maybe start with Rachel Ray, I would start down the list of who I wanted to get to if I wanted to learn these things. And so I would think the same thing applies, but there are so many successful mentors. I know there's this one guy, and his name is Sean. I don't know his last name, but it's like a millionaire mentor. But I don't know. I know he charges a nominal fee to be a part of his network, but he has a list of all these people and I see them interacting because I know which ones are kind of fake and which ones aren't. Not that I know them all, but he basically charges a nominal fee, but you have access to his network, and he takes businesses, and they'll start out. He invested I think $20,000 and sold that business for $200 million or something crazy. So there's people out there. I think that is the greatest thing about the world we live in. You can do a little research, and by the end of a day, know where to go to probably get most of the information. I know that's true in the insurance world. I have a good friend of mine, and a lot of his practices that I have in my insurance presentations. He's an author, and we are friends on Facebook, and I had a problem the other day. And he sold millions of copies of books. I had a problem the other day, and I sent him a message on Facebook, and he responded to me within 20 minutes. Yeah. So, it's just, making these connections with people, and not everybody's going to respond to you, but I think you'd be surprised if you cast enough out, you're going to get a bite here and there.
Yeah, and not getting discouraged too.
Correct.
When you hear no.
That's the key. Yeah, you have not because you asked not. That's the one thing. They always talk about, we can talk about baseball analogies. I know your family is a baseball, family, and it's all about how many up at bats do you take. It's not about the hits. If you're not getting up to bat, you're not going to have the hits. And I think that's one of the things. And the real success stories come from those that have gone and failed and then tried again, even if it's trying something else. I have a son that just graduated college, and we're, trying to figure out exactly what he's going to do, and he's going to venture off in business for himself. And, he's scared, but it's like, how do you know if you don't try? And but it's not just trying and saying, okay, Jesus, take the wheel. It's having a good, solid plan in place and following your plan.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you learned just as much as we did on this episode of the Palikari Business Podcast.
Yeah, for more information on our guests, make sure to check out the podcast description on whatever platform you're listening on.
Yeah, and if you'd like to connect with us and continue the discussion, you can always join our Palikari Community Discord and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Just search for us under the handle @Odyssey Productions Co. for new podcast clips in your feed every week.
Until then, we'll see you next time.